Good evening. I'm glad to be here again with you tonight. My name is Pastor Paul Birthright, and I'm here to continue with the study of Genesis. We're here today to go over Genesis, the 25th chapter. Okay, as of the last time, we have spoken about, not exactly as of the last time, that was like maybe 2 studies ago, we spoke about Isaac and Ishmael. We wanted to know who was supposed to be the elect, because today we're going to be discussing about Esau and Jacob. You have to understand that even though God had his creation, we say that all the time, there was a corruption among God's creation where God has to start from scratch. And even among Abraham's children, God has to select very carefully who his elect are. Okay, first we want to first understand that some people has the wrong idea about what is predestination. Predestination is not that God has selected a few to go to hell and he has also selected a few to go to heaven. No, that's not the way it goes. Predestination, as you can see here by Romans 8, verse 28 through 30. Romans 8, verse 28 to 30 spoke about God's predestination as far as by his foreknowledge. You can lower down the music just a little more. So God has spoken in Romans 8, 28 through 30 through his apostle Paul about his foreknowledge. So in other words, God knows before. He has a foreknowledge of our heart. That's why God chooses according to someone's heart. If you can remember when Samuel was sent by God to anoint a king among David's brothers, among Jesse's children, who is David's father. So Samuel saw some of those imposing guys, those big guys who were part of Saul's soldiers, I should say, and immediately Samuel thought that one of these guys is definitely going to be the king. But God told him, not so, because God chooses according to someone's heart. In other words, God knows your spirit, he knows you, he knows what you're made of. And we can see that in the example of Job. Remember when Job, God was really poking his chest out about his servant Job, where Satan came and challenged God that if you let me test Job, he's going to really turn his back on you. In fact, he will deny you. But God knew Job, and God said, go right ahead, but do not kill him, do not touch him. So here, not only that God shows that he selects someone according to what you're going to choose, because he has the foreknowledge. He knew that Job would not let him down. He would not do that for Job's wife, because Job's wife would definitely let God down. So it's the same thing here when it comes to Isaac and Ishmael, when it comes to Esau and Jacob. Of course, for the next few minutes, we're going into what some calls 2 nations in the womb of Isaac. Not Isaac, I should say Rebecca, the wife of Isaac. Rebecca, if you read the chapter 25, it tells you specifically that two nations are in Rebecca's womb, and also two manner of people, which means that it's like a difference between day and night. So some people even go further. If you allow me to elaborate a little, some people even go further and claim that really, ever since Adam and Eve, a lot of theologians, they've been looking into these things. A lot of them think that Cain and Abel, for instance, are supposed to be twins. This is not what we're discussing tonight. But whenever I have a chance, I would probably go over this debate, where some would let you know ahead of time that not only they are twins, but the children of Cain, they all going to be condemned, where the children or the seed of Abel, they all going to be saved, which I object to that last part, definitely, because God is the creator and God does not choose for you. God gives you a free will. So in other words, as long as you are a human and you did not sell your soul over to the devil, where you transform into something else, God is going to fight for you. So this is where we are. Okay, so here we know that a lot of people argue that it's the same thing with Cain and Abel, Esau and Jacob. We all know that there is a fight here. What is the fight all about? The fight is about the birthright. Before we even go into this, let's see what the birthright is. Long time ago, there was not a group of Levites selected to do the work of God, to be priests, or in other words, to be not only the priest, but the one who is going to be the head of the family. So the birthright not only include the priestly service of the family, it also includes the leadership of the family. You're the one in charge. And third, it also allows you a double portion of the inheritance. So this is why it's such a big deal. So in other words, before, at the time of the patriarchs, we're talking about Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, before the 12 tribes of Israel, where Moses came and God had chosen the Levites to do the priestly services. It used to be the patriarchs, or the one who is the eldest or the older one in the family, the one who has the birthright. So, of course, what happened here, we understand that one of them, talking about Jacob, wanted the birthright, but Esau despised the birthright. But then again, this wouldn't be a problem, since some argues that ahead of time, Esau was sent from the enemy and Jacob was sent from God. So we don't have time to go into this right now, because we want to go over Genesis 25 right now. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and we can probably go a little deeper into the debates that are going on over Esau and Jacob and Cain and Abel and so on. As you can see, there has been a lot of controversies. In other words, God created the world, God created humankind, but there has been a lot of corruption. There has been a lot of interference on the part of the enemy. That's why we are not supposed to try to pluck out if I should call that the wheat from the tares, or the tares from the wheat. This is not our job, because we cannot really tell. God has his angel to do that. So we have to pray and love our brothers as long as we can, and intercede for them as long as they are human. Okay, now let's see. We understand that there has been times in the Bible. It's not the only time that there was a fight over the birthright. We can see that there was a time where Cain and Abel, like I mentioned before, it was a matter of birthright. If you see in Genesis 4, Cain was the first one out of the womb. And then came Abel. So Cain was older, but he despised the birthright, because he did not, God knew that deep in his heart, he was not about to offer sacrifice like that of his brother Abel. And Abel knew what type of sacrifice to offer. Not that Cain didn't know. But Cain, as some people would say or suggest, Cain was not of God. A lot of people said that. But of course, God is the creator. God gave Cain a chance. God told Cain, "Sin crouch at your door." It's like a lion crouches like in front of your door waiting to attack. So it's up to you if you want to allow the sins to come in, or if you want to fight it. But he chose to murder his brother. So from there we can deduce that the losing of the birthright can be through defilement, through murder in the case of Cain, or through hatred and violence. Let's go over that. It's like you understand now that the birthright is very important, and the patriarchs knew that the birthright is an honor. In other words, for those who do not realize that, we have been chosen as priests or royal priesthood, like the Bible tells you that in the New Testament. It's like we are a holy nation, a royal priesthood, who will be reigning with Christ. We will be doing the job that these priests used to do long time ago. It's like that's why the birthright is so important. So there are ways that you can lose that birthright, and I'm going to show you at least 3 of them here. Okay. The first one we can see is through defilement. Defilement, I mention that all the time when people go and see a witchcraft person or voodoo person. The first thing they do, they defile you to get God away from you, to get the holiness, the Holy Spirit away from you. They make you drink whatever thing they can. They even make you eat excrement in certain cases. Because God, when he was giving instruction to the Levites, God told them specifically whenever they in the camp, because they used to travel every now and then they would dress an encampment where they would stay for a little while until waiting for God's instruction. So God gave them instruction: if you are going to defecate somewhere, it has to be covered. You dig a hole, use a shovel, and it has to be covered. God always mentioned how holy he is, and certain things will defile you. We spoke about that the last time. I don't want to lose too much time on that. And that's why you see right now with certain things they're doing nowadays, they really are encouraging certain things that can defile you. So you can lose the priesthood. Okay, so an example of that defilement can be found in Genesis 49, verses 3 and 4. When Jacob was about to die, then he gathered all his children, all 12 of them, and he was about to pronounce blessings upon them. When he got to Reuben, who was who was supposed to have the birthright, this is what he told Reuben. He said, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. You see about the birthright, the firstborn. He said, you are unstable as water. Thou shalt not excel. You will not succeed. You're not going to have success. Why? Because you went up to thy father's bed, then defile the bed. He went up to my couch. That Genesis 49, 3, 4. We know, for those of you who would take the time to read it, meaning that Reuben, the firstborn with the birthright, went and took one of Jacob's concubines. The Bible did not specify who, but he went and slept and had an affair with one of his father's women, whether it was concubine or wife. So you can see clearly that he lost the birthright here. If you don't believe me, go and read 1 Chronicle chapter 1, verse 5. He tells you. It says, now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for he was the firstborn, but for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph, the sons of Israel. And the genealogy is not to be reckoned after the birthright. So here you see, he also lost his birthright. So that's why you see that Joseph was giving a double portion. Because remember, if you have the birthright, the firstborn, you're supposed to have double of everything. You have a double portion, you have the priesthood, and also you in charge. So he lost all that to Joseph. So, of course, that's why you can see that Jacob adopted Ephraim and Manasseh. And Manasseh, they were born in Egypt, the sons of Joseph. That's why you have a tribe that is called Ephraim, which was one of the largest tribes of Israel at the time when Israel was still in the north part. And you also have Manasseh. So what I'm saying here, Joseph happened to take over that birthright. So Reuben defiled his father's bed, but Joseph, when it came to that, Joseph ran away from that. Remember when Potiphar's wife tried to grab Joseph, he ran, and he did not defile himself. So we're going to the second screen right now. But I just want to add one thing while we're going to the second screen. Remember when Balaam, who was not really a good prophet, he was a prophet who loved money. When Balak, the king of Moab, called them and he said, curse Israel for me because these guys are coming. Nobody can resist them because God is with them. They are whipping everybody. They whip Jericho, they whipping all the big guys, and they coming toward me now. So what happened? what he did, he couldn't curse them because God forbade him to curse Israel. And he said, well, why don't you just send these women in the camp, because these women, they into Baal worship, where they practice all kind of what you see going on right now. Women with women, men with men, and everything. It's all over the Bible. That's not what we are going over now, but it's all over the Bible. That's like defilement. So if you defile them, don't worry, we got them. And right after that, God started sending plagues upon them, and thousands of them died. So defilement is one thing. The second one is murder. One of the first commandments is to love God. And Jesus in the New Testament broke down all these commandments into two. He said to love God, because the first 5 commandments is the dealing of man with God, and the last 5 commandments is the dealing of man and his brothers and his neighbors, if I should say. So here Jesus broke everything down into 2 commandments. He said to love God with all your might, with all your strength, and to love your neighbor. Do not kill your brother. So what happened? Cain, that's what happened. That's how Cain lost his birthright to Abel. God knew in his heart that he was going to kill his brother. God tried to avert that, but of course he chose to kill his brother. God does not take someone and pick and say, this one is going to hell, this one is going to heaven. It's a choice. You have a free will. So here we go into the third way where one can lose his birthright. The third way is through hatred and violence, because you know you're not supposed to hate your brother. So here, first of all, I want to say that I pity all those brothers who are chanting death to Esau. There are a lot of brothers who think that they can stand in the place of God, because God said, vengeance is mine. You don't go and try to, just like right now, if you cannot become a vigilante in the world we live in. If you have some problems, someone did some harm towards you or toward a family, as long as, if the person get away, I understand what is called self-defense. Like if someone came and broke down your door and is about to kill your kids or something like that, of course, you're going to defend yourself. But if someone did something and got away, you don't start going around and start shooting at that person in the public. Other people may be at stake and everything else. So this is what's going on. After I get through this, you'll understand perfectly why God said, vengeance is mine. God is the one who knows the heart of everybody. God is the one who is trying to save as many as he can. But first they have to make a choice. You kill the person and not giving the person the chance to make a choice and get saved, then it's on you. Okay, so here I'm going to give you some a couple of verses to understand what happened here with when you have hatred and violence towards your brother or your neighbor. This is what Obadiah said. Obadiah is just like the book of Jude. It's only one chapter, and we going over verses 10, 11, and 14. Verse 10, this is when the children of Israel were running away from Babylon, and what their brother Esau did, he went there and he joined up with the Babylonians to go against them. In fact, what they did, they stand in a way to block them, so all those that are trying to run away from captivity, they push them back into Babylon. The verses goes as, well, I'm not going to read the whole verse, but it says, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his force, talking about Israel, even thou was as one of them. You were as one of those enemies, as one of those strangers, and you're supposed to be his brother. He said, you should not have stood in the crossway. What they did, they stand in the crossway to block them, so the enemy can hold them captive. And they cut off the way of those who try to escape. So here, God was very angry. And we understand that sometimes the devil can use our brothers, our families to come against us. But what I want to say here, that you have to remember Joseph. Even the Israelites, when they were praying, they were in captivity. In Psalm 137, you can read it. Psalm 137 verse 7, what they said, Lord, remember what the children of Esau did to us. But then further down in Psalm 137, they did some kind of imprecation against Babylon, who got them captive. They did not put any imprecation on Esau, because they knew Esau was their brother. Now, if you want to go as far as Canaan also had a curse on them, because Noah cursed Canaan. And again, there, remember that Ham was the one who sinned, and it was the same type of sin as Reuben, the first son of Jacob. So here, what he did not curse him, he cursed the child, Canaan. That's why Canaan was cursed. But again, God sent Abraham where? To Canaan, the land of Canaan. And as you can see here, there was also another a birthright issue here that was between Pharaoh and Pharez and Zara. Pharez and Zara, which is in Genesis 38. 38, remember when the woman saw, I believe he saw that Zara was about to come out first. They were twins. Remember that the mother was a Canaanite woman. And these two who were about to be bring forth, who were about to be born, one of them was the progenitor of Christ. He was the great-great-great-great-grandfather of Christ. And yet Canaan was cursed. Canaan had all kind of giants waiting for the children of Israel to destroy them. So here, what I'm saying here, it is not you're not in the place to condemn like that. You can exhort, you can go against certain things, but it's not your place to pass judgment. You did not create, and you did not create either heaven or hell. So what I'm saying here, as I conclude, I want to remind you that as you can see the picture of Joseph, he was screaming for his brothers not to send them captive into the Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelites were still their brothers. Ishmaelites were still Abraham's children through Hagar, the mother of Ishmael. And then the Ishmaelites sold them to the Egyptian. So what I'm saying here, Joseph had every right. I mean, it was obviously a great injustice because he was the youngest one there, and it was like 10 against 1 because his only little brother Benjamin was not there. So 10 against 1, and they took him and enslaved him even though he was screaming for mercy. So what I'm saying here, Joseph had them all at his mercy when he became a prime minister in Egypt. What did Joseph do? He did not kill them because these guys were waiting for Joseph to do something to them. In fact, they tried to lie about it and said that, well, Dad said before he died to have mercy upon us. What did Joseph answer to them? Am I in the place of God? So that's what I'm saying. No matter what happened, it is not for you to take judgment upon yourself. But God said, vengeance is mine. So I want to leave you with that verse in Matthew 12, 20 and 21. This is coming from Isaiah. When Isaiah was prophesying about Christ, when he said Christ will not, let me read it to you word by word. It says, "O bruised reed shall he not break, and smoking flax shall he not quench, till he send forth judgment unto victory." In other words, like if you were living back in those days, they used to have those flax, those lamps that they need some kind of oil to keep them going. So sometime when it's running out of oil or the flax, it's getting about to die, where you have to revive it somehow. So it's telling you here about Jesus. So as long as there is a little life, as long as there is a little humanity, as long as you have a little human in you, God is going to fight for you. And he said that a bruised reed shall he not break. A reed is something that can take a lot of wind. It will bow down to the wind, and it would come up when the wind or the hurricane is over. So even when a reed is broken, he's going to try to revive it. So this is Jesus we're talking about. And to finish, it tells you that in his name, and in his name shall the Gentiles trust. The Gentiles are those who are not in the covenant with God, not the children of Abraham, not the children of Jacob, not the tribes of Israel. So this means that God is always looking for a way to save every one of his creation. Of course, he has a select, or what they call an elect group. But at the same time, God is out to really save everyone. So you cannot hate anybody, whether the person is black, white, red, yellow. You cannot hate anybody, or else you may run into losing the birthright, just like Esau did. May God bless you.